Hi everyone, I'm Rachel. I'm 31. I was recently diagnosed with breast cancer. I always kind of knew I was going to get it at some point. My dad's two sisters died at an early age of breast cancer, and since I've always kind of worried about it, I've been pretty good about getting screening, and I had my first mammogram last November, about a year ago, and the mammogram was all clear back in November. So the beginning of September, I noticed a lump, and it was right down here under my right breast, and it felt to be about pea size. And a few different doctors thought it was just a cyst, and my OB-GYN even said wait a few weeks. Now, since breast cancer runs in my family, my parents insisted that I go have it checked out sooner. So I went to a surgeon, and when he went to aspirate it or drain it, nothing, no fluid came out. So at that point, he said he wanted to do a biopsy. But even then, he said not to worry. He thought, it was probably just some tissue or even like a benign mass or tumor or something that just needed to come out. But then, to everybody's surprise, on September 25th is the day I got the dreaded news. And at that point, we really didn't know much other than that I had breast cancer, and all the other test results were still pending. We were able to get an appointment with a breast surgeon at UT Southwestern Medical School in Dallas the following Thursday. So that Thursday, I met with various doctors, and I had a lot of scans and tests. We were really pleased with everything and just decided to go ahead and have my surgery there in Dallas. So the cancer was only on one side, but we and the doctors decided that the best thing to do in my case was to have a double mastectomy. I tested positive for the BRCA1 gene mutation, which gave me a 50% chance of getting cancer on the other side. So since I'm young, we just decided to go ahead and do the mastectomy rather than the lumpectomy, and that way I'd, give me peace of mind for the future. They were able to quickly fit me into surgery actually on Monday, that's October 5th. So 10 days after getting the bad news, I was at the hospital having the surgery. So I'm just really glad we got things moving and we got things taken care of really quickly. It was a really long surgery. It was about 8 hours, actually a little over 8 hours, because what I had a bilateral mastectomy, both sides, and I also got reconstruction started at the same time. The first few days were pretty rough. I had one of those patient-controlled morphine pumps, and I would just watch and wait for that green light to come back on so I could press it again. But pretty much after about a week, I started feeling better. The pain was a lot better, but I was still really exhausted, and I was told to expect to have that fatigue for about 3 to 6 months after the surgery. Now, emotionally, it wasn't really as hard as I expected. I was glad to have the surgery over with, and I was glad to have the cancer hopefully removed. Since I had the reconstruction started, when I woke up from surgery, I wasn't totally flat. I actually, had a little bit of form, and the incisions weren't too bad either. So pretty much the scars or the incisions go kind of straight down the middle of each breast, and over time they're going to heal and they're going to fade. I actually went to the movies the Friday after my surgery, so that was just a few days after surgery. We took the boys to see a Toy Story 3D movie, and I was pretty sore and tired, but all I had to do was sit there, and it was just really nice getting out of the house. After the surgery, I had 4 drainage tubes. I had 2 on each side, and I had to empty them and measure them a couple times a day. Now, I got 2 of the drains removed about a week after surgery, and the remaining 2 were just a few days after that. Now, once the drains came out, I felt so much better. It was a big relief, and I could lay on my side. That was really nice to get those drains out. It took a little bit over a week to get the final results of the biopsy and the surgery. So it appears that they removed all of the cancer. The margins were clear and the lymph nodes were clear. And I actually had a second suspicious spot that was found on the MRI, but thankfully that turned out not to be cancer. So really I just had the one tumor that was 1.3 centimeters. So they put me at stage 1, which means we caught it early. I met with 2 oncologists, and I also spoke with my cousin who is an oncologist, and all pretty much agreed that it was best for me to have chemotherapy. I had a lot of tests and scans, and even though that no other cancer was seen, there's still a possibility that I could have cancer somewhere in my body, and we just wanted to make sure that we got rid of it. So we decided to do the TC treatment. So I'm going to have 4 treatments once every 3 weeks. And before chemo, I got my hair cut. They said that my hair will start falling out about 2 weeks after starting chemo, so I just wanted to go ahead and cut it short and kind of ease the transition. Up until about a year ago, I always had long hair, and actually I'm still trying to get used to the short hair right now. I'll show you a picture. So I don't know if you can see, but here's a picture, I don't know, probably I think that was about 3 years ago, of how I used to look with my long hair, and also when it was straightened, because it's naturally curly, but I straighten it. Anyway, before I started chemo, I got a port put in. So chemo is really bad for your veins, and instead of putting the chemo right into your arm veins, the doctors prefer for you to have a port. And it's the little device that goes under the skin, usually in your chest, and then that connects to a major vein, and that's how they put the chemo in. So I'll kind of show you here. So here's the incision, obviously, where they put the port in, and the port's just right under my skin here, so you can see that little bump or that knot there. And anytime I have chemo, they just, put the treatment through here. And what's also nice is anytime I need to have blood tests or my blood drawn, they can also do that through here, so I don't have to keep having, sticks in my arm and things like that. The day of chemo, we arrived at about 8:15 in the morning. They had me pick a chair that was near the nurse's station, and they do that often for first-timers because they want to really keep an eye on you and make sure that you don't have any reactions, or if you do have a reaction, they want to make sure that they can get that under control quickly. And then they started giving me some steroids and some anti-nausea stuff through the port. And then it took probably about an hour later before they could actually start the chemo, because they needed some time for, I guess, the steroids and the medicine to kind of kick in. So about noon was when they finally started the chemo, and luckily I had no allergic reactions and I didn't have any of the initial side effects that they wanted. By about 4 p.m. we were done with everything, and that day I felt fine. Then each day got a little bit worse. So my chemo was on Thursday, and I would say by Sunday I was really kind of feeling bad. It got better maybe starting Monday or so, but that weekend I really felt achy and nauseous and weak, kind of like when you're getting the flu. I guess overall it really wasn't that bad. I thought it was going to be a lot worse. The worst part of it for me was the nausea. And even the nausea wasn't really bad. I didn't get sick. I didn't throw up or anything, but I was just nauseous enough to kind of make me not want to eat anything. Now for the reconstruction, they can't just give you implants right away. They put expanders in and then kind of gradually fill them up and stretch the skin. So I went for my first expansion last week. The plastic surgeon injects saline into your expander. So in my case, the plastic surgeon gave me 75 cc of saline. And I was told it was going to hurt or that you were going to be sore, but really it wasn't too bad. It was just a really weird feeling when they were injecting the saline. I felt like, balloons were being filled up inside of me. And afterwards, I was just a little bit sore. I took some Tylenol or ibuprofen, but I didn't really need any heavy pain medication or anything like that. Now, since I'm BRCA positive, I also have an increased risk of ovarian cancer. I met with a gynecological oncologist who highly recommends that I get a hysterectomy, or at least my ovaries removed. So as soon as I recover from my chemo, I'm going to have some type of surgery. I just kind of need to decide whether to have my ovaries removed or just go on and have a full hysterectomy. So pretty much that's where I am now. It's a lot to experience and a lot to take in over a short amount of time, and I'm just trying my best to stay positive, and I just keep thinking that things could have been worse. I was really lucky that we caught it early, and I have such a great support system, and if anything, it just really made me realize how much people really care about me and my family. I'm going to try to just go on living my life and do the things that I enjoy doing, and I'm going to look at this as just another obstacle or a task that I have to complete, and I will complete it. I'm going to get through this, and I know it's going to be a tough year, but once I'm done, I'm going to move on, and I'm going to be a better person, and I've just really already learned a lot from this experience. So thank you for taking the time to hear my story. And if you have any questions or want to talk, or if you know somebody in my similar situation, please leave a comment, or you can email me through my blog, through the Cha-Ching Queen blog. It's www.chachingqueen.com.